Hi everybody, it's Cindy from VintageToNew, and today we are going to put the cover on our book. Now I've done a video on this previously, so it's going to be really similar to that one, but each one's a little different. You do things just a little differently. This one has the curved spine. I went ahead and I gave the entire book a coat of, just a single coat of white paint to help brighten it up. The fabric I'm going to use is not very thick. I just did a little bit in here. We are going to be using end papers on the inside, so we didn't need to worry too much about that. So here's the fabric that I'm going to use for the outside of my rose journal. It is a pillowcase. A vintage pillowcase that has a border print down here, so I'm going to make sure this ends up on the front cover and down like this. And so the way I do it is I iron on fusible interfacing on the inside, gives it just a little bit more body, makes it a little bit more doesn't stretch or anything like that. And because there's a curved spine, I left it extra long over here. And so the way I determined the size of this was I traced the book on my interfacing and left, you know, a couple inches over here on the side, ironed it on. So I'm going to be cutting this off. So that's just how I did it. So now when we're doing this book, oh, the other thing is, I mentioned in my other video, I always iron my fabric. And because this is vintage fabric, always be careful of things like this. I didn't see this until after I started, but there's a hole in this piece of fabric. So I'm really glad that it's not like right here in the center. It was way up here at the top. Everything else about it looks really good. So here we go. So I'm going to take my glue and I am going to place glue right here along the spine. I'm only going to do half at a time. These books, you want them to have a really beautifully attached piece of fabric, and you want to have this little ease of your book down here highly defined. You'll see what I mean when we get it to stick. So that's all the glue I'm going to put on for right now. Alright, so I'm going to find the center of my fabric, or a straight line of my fabric. I don't know that I want it to be in the center yet, but a nice straight thing to help me get it on nice and straight. And I want it to be so that this border print is using as much of it as we can. All right, it's already starting to grab a little bit. So there's that. I just want to turn it over, take a peek in here, make sure I'm going straight, and I'm going a little bit crooked. So I'm going to get it nice and straightened up while I still can. Okay. That looks really good and straight. So then I want to come back to this front, and then I want to work this fabric. I don't want this side to get caught until I have this fabric down here into this opening, this ease of this book. So use something like your bone folder and your ruler. Make sure you have plenty of fabric down in there to get the really good definition on that book cover. See right there how that is just gorgeous right there. I'm going to use this to push up against the side and get it nice and straight. Curve this around. All right. That looks really nice, and I'm just going to use this to push the fabric down into that glue, both places. And I'm using the Fabri-Tac because remember I said in an earlier video we don't want to use a water-based glue on this cardboard here. Okay, so we have this done. So I'm going to peel my fabric back and finish gluing up right along the edge. The other thing, in my opinion, that the iron-on interfacing does is it really helps keep the glue from coming back up through your fabric, because Fabri-Tac will come through your fabric if you're not careful. And it's not the end of the world, but it's not the look I'm going for. So now I'm going to lay this down just a little at a time, going this way. So there's that, and I didn't pull it out of this crack. I'm going to use this to smooth it down. You could use your bone folder if you wanted something smaller. Really keep pushing this into this crack so that it's really defined. That just looks so beautiful on your book, where you have this curved spine and that highly defined part of your book right there. So that part's done. How cool is that? So now we're going to just turn it around, pull back our cloth, and do the same thing but on the other side. So we're going to run glue down the side. Down into the ease of the book, right along the edge of this, and a little bit right there. And then we're going to just work it down a little at a time to get it down into that ease. Use something to push it down. See how much it pulled this in from the side? And push that in right there. And get that edge. Really define it right there. I'm using my other hand to kind of push on this side over here so I can get it into that glue, making sure my spine is nice and attached. Looks really good. Doing these spines is not very hard. It just takes a lot of time. And there's a lot of places you can go really wrong. So, as long as you can get this good definition here, get this attached really well there. See, I'm starting to lose it just a little bit right there. I want that down into that spot. And this really thin ruler, I love it. And I've mentioned before, I got this one at the dollar store. It's been a while ago. I don't know if they're still there. I haven't checked recently. But for so many things, it has come in really handy. I got fuzz down in there. So there's that. So now let's add the rest of the glue for here. And make sure you don't have dark strings or something hanging out down there. It'll show through your fabric. I mentioned in my last video when I did this, sometimes people tend to want to go with a really heavy fabric for your cover, and they're beautiful. But if you look at old books or even current books, when they do the covers, it's usually a nice lightweight fabric. So do what you're the most comfortable with, or the look that you want to have, but I really like the lighter weight fabrics. Okay, so again, just pushing with my left hand here, pushing it down as I go till I make it to the edge. All right, so there's that. And I'm going to just go through this one more time, making sure that it's still way down into that glue. I'm pretty sure it looks pretty good. All right. So then I'm going to pick it up and flip it over. So now the next thing I'm going to do is trim the fabric away so that it's about 1.5 inches from the all sides of my book. Okay, so I've trimmed my fabric down, and for part of it on the ends I used my clear ruler and my rotary cutter. But if you don't have that, just use your scissors. I use scissors on the rest because of the way that it lays. It doesn't lay flat for doing that. So the other thing I did is I used my ruler and I marked 45-degree angles at the corners. Doesn't have to be a perfect 45. I just eyeballed 45 degrees, but you do need to leave about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. This book is about 1/8 of an inch thick, so you don't want less than 1/8. So I left a very, very generous, more than 1/8 of an inch from this corner to where I'm going to cut. And so you just cut off your corners, and I marked it so that I know right where to cut. So I'll cut all 4. This one doesn't look 45. I don't know what I was thinking right there. So that looks more like 45, and there's my 1/8 plus a little bit right there. So there. So don't lose your head. Keep your head in the game as you're doing your marking. All right. So then to glue the inside, I am going to use Mod Podge. So here we are. I just have the little sponge brush. I put a little on this lid right here because my Mod Podge is getting thicker by the day. So you want to make sure you get a lot of it on the edge of your book, you know, for your fabric to stick to at the edge, and then a generous amount right up here. Like that. And then take this and pull it up nice and firmly. Place it into the Mod Podge that you just put on there. So, like that. Making sure that the corner's nice and stuck. Everything is nice and stuck. So then we're going to turn it. And we're going to do the same along the other edge. So this is the front. We had marked the front. So my front's over here. So this is the bottom of my book. Making sure that I'm getting all of it well glued. All the edges. Let me push it up a little more. And then up here. Now the thing about Mod Podge is it does not grab as fast as the Fabri-Tac, which is pluses and minuses to that. Okay, so watch this corner right here. Do you see where this hangs over just a little because we cut it a little bit longer? Take your thumb and push it down so that that corner is super well covered. It is perfectly covered right there, and then push this up over the top. Making sure that it's nice and folded. And you'll have a beautiful corner on your book if you do that. And then we just keep working our way down, pushing this fabric up into the Mod Podge. Making sure that where our book ease is, there's still a lot of ease there from the inside. Let me get some more. Okay. I need a little bit more Mod Podge. And you can see we're having a little bit more time to work on it is a good thing. Okay, I don't want to have a bunch of lumps over here where our paper's going to go. So make sure you work it down so that it's nice and flat. That looks really good. All right, let's get over here to this corner to make sure we've got it good. So I'm going to pull it up at the corner first, making sure that's really nice and straight, and then finish working this up. So your book is going to want to bend this way. So make sure you have everything in there in that ease so your book can bend well and nice and flat. My fingers are getting really sticky. And this part you won't see. It's going to be on the inside under the signatures, but you want it to be nice. This kind of bothers me. I'm going to just work that down, making it as flat as I can. Okay, so then we're moving up to the next side, adding our glue along the edge. Pulling it up. Whoop, we forgot. We need to push down with our fingernail to cover that corner. Put some more glue on there. And then pull this up. And we'll have a beautiful corner. Okay, that one is just a little bit, I left maybe just a tiny bit too much. So just trim it off. It's always better to have too much and have your corner, this corner really well covered instead of having part of the book hang out from the corner. Okay, I could have gone a little tighter, so I'm working that up. Okay, so we're on our last side. See how quick that goes? So adding our glue, especially here at the corner, right here, 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 down the side. Oh, Mod Podge mess. Hold on. So for me, when I get on the camera, I get a little nervous, but I also try to hurry, I guess. I feel myself always trying to get it done quick, and I just always tend to just make a mess. Okay, so back to fixing this. Looks like that's coming up a little bit right there. we'll get it with the fabric. All right, so we're gonna pull this up. We're gonna pull our corner, well, we're gonna stick our corner down and then pull it up. And this one's a little long too. I'm gonna just give it a little bit of a cut. Go down here and get this, push our corner down with our fingernail, pull this up. That corner looks really good. Right there, pulled too hard. All right. And then let's get this right here. Making sure we have our E's in the book. Right there. Let's check the front. That looks really, really beautiful. Looks really nice. So I'm just going to go around, flatten out any of these little things, especially here where the papers are going to go. Because your paper, if there's lumps, the paper will show the lumps. I'm very pleased with all of our corners. That one's just a tiny, tiny bit long. Just give it a little extra Mod Podge. Seal it down. And so we have our cover on our book. Oh, thought we did. Making sure that there's no bumps. All right. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over one last time and check. All right. I love the way that this is going to have more roses, one single rose here on the spine and then the back. So the next thing we're going to do is work some more on our signatures, but when we're ready to sew our signatures in, our book cover will be ready. So until next time, this was Cindy from Vintage to New.